All right, welcome to the show, everybody. Got quite a few stories here to talk about, so I guess I already have one on the screen, so that's probably what we'll start with. Oh, thank you, Ralph, for the host. That is much appreciated on D Live. All right, so I guess I have to be mildly entertaining. Um, First on the list, I guess we'll start off with the gender related topics. Oh crap! I better unmute myself there on Discord. And as you can see, Fireman Sam axed as fire service mascot because he is not inclusive enough. Thanks, Ralph. Appreciate it, man. This is good. This is great. I mean, what do you even say about something so stupid and so petty? Well, let's find out. Fireman Sam has been axed as a fire service mascot following claims he is not inclusive enough. So I guess women equals inclusive, men equals exclusive. Is that how we're doing things now? Does that really make any logical sense? Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue Service said it made the decision after receiving negative feedback about the mascot, which is based on the popular children's TV show. So it's actually a children's show, and they have decided to replace the mascot. Now, what does that mean for the show? I mean, are you allowed to have a male firefighter on the show? Hey, everybody. I don't know. I've never heard of the show, obviously, but what's wrong with... Look at this guy. He looks like a respectable little firefighter. Come on. I think we need to make sure we exclusively say fireman from now on, right? Just because we know it burns their asses. Now the force's other mascots, fire extinguisher-shaped Freddy, Filbert, and Penelope, will be used in place of Fireman Sam. So, okay. Let's follow this line for a second. I mean, I just joked about women being inclusive, but apparently that's not the case either. So, if we go by thinking of it as fucking seeing men or seeing women in a role makes you feel like the other type of human being can't do said role, how does replacing it with fire extinguishers help? Because now, according to that, only entities who identify as fire extinguishers can become firemen, or firefighters, or fire people, or whatever words they're trying to, enforce on us this day. It just, what kind of sense does that make? I don't think people should be so weak as to allow something as simple as a mascot deter them from doing something that they really want to do with their lives. That just seems insanely silly to me. I mean, where's the parents' role in this? You would think that if, men and women can do the same things, they can do anything the other one can. Where's the parents' role in teaching their children this so that we don't have to rely on stupid bullshit like this to try to teach that lesson, even though, by their own standard, that's not the lesson that they're teaching here, because apparently the lesson that they're teaching is only fire extinguishers can be firemen. Let's see what else they have to say. According to government statistics, 5.2% of firefighters in England were women in 2017. Now, I'd really like to see the standards, like how many women applied, how many women tried to take the test, what kind of standards they have in place to pass the test, and whether or not, the women were able to do that. I know we're not supposed to think about that, but I'm thinking about it because it seems kind of iffy to me. And, I mean, maybe there's just not a big drive for women to put themselves in life-risking situations. I mean, does anybody think of that? No, it has to be bigotry. It has to be exclusion. It has to be that the men are just holding them down. I mean, because if you think about it, being a fireman it's not a job for just anybody. And that includes some men. I mean, hell, I don't know if I'd want to do that. It's a lot to take on. There is a very good chance that you could die in a serious emergency. He said firefighters nationally... Okay, wait. Yeah, I skipped it. Lincolnshire's chief fire officer, Les Britzman, said the mascot was outdated and did not help sell the fire safety message. So men, all you men out there, you're outdated. It's over. The future is female, as you all know. Firefighters nationally and residents locally have raised some concerns that Fireman Sam doesn't reflect the fire service today in terms of both the job itself and our workforce. But they just got done saying that 5.2% of firefighters were women. So that's a really small portion. And again, going back to their whole, this is representative, right? How the fuck do cartoon fire extinguishers or, what are they? Are they fire extinguishers? Fire hydrants? Yeah, fire extinguisher shaped. How do they represent the workforce? You don't have literal fire extinguishers doing this job. It's a tool to help people do the job. Are you that stupid? It's important to us that our open days and community events don't make anyone feel excluded, and therefore we took this decision. By excluding the entirety of humanity and replacing them with fucking fire extinguishers. Killer Bob, did you hear that PewDiePie took back his donation to the ADL? I did. I didn't plan like a segment for it or anything, but I did comment on it on Twitter. I made a little bit, I guess a tiny bit of a thread rant. But yeah, I think it's a good call on his part. It's, obviously, you can't say for certain what happened. He said he was advised by somebody to donate to them. Maybe it was, I think, a sponsor or something like that. And, he was busy with his wedding and honeymoon and didn't really look into it and decided to do it. And then upon the reaction from everybody, just kind of barraging him with all this information of why he shouldn't do that, looked into it further and decided not to make the donation after all. That's his story. I don't know whether or not that's an accurate representation of events, but it's probably the best we're going to get. Of course, now the people yesterday that were praising that decision are, bitching endlessly, saying he caved and cucked to the Nazis, typical retarded shit that doesn't make any sense. But go figure. This shit where they just randomly have to change the gender of things or make it gender neutral is constantly, it's just stupid. I mean, I don't think it really helps anything, and I feel like they're probably not going to see the results of this for a long time, because if they're kind of saying, well, this is to encourage children to do things, well, what, we gotta wait fucking, I don't know, 15, 16 years to see if a cartoon fire extinguisher helps more women apply to be a fireman or firefighter? Because I don't think that's going to help. That's just me. I feel like people, for the most part, are just about as fucking free as they can possibly be. The mascot. All right, hold on. That was a good one. I got a crypto phalangist. The mascot must be changed to Muhammad the Firebomber. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to see that. But yeah, I don't think any of this really actually helps anything. I think it's just people patting themselves on the back, trying to, appear as virtuous as possible and appeal to as many people as possible. But ultimately, they're going to be ineffectual because it's nothing more than lip service. This doesn't actually inspire anybody to do anything. If anything, it just makes shit unappealing because they're constantly trying to bash on half the population. Nobody wants to hear that all the time. But while we're on the topic of gender, there's nothing more really interesting about this. If you've heard of the channel Queer Kids Stuff, it's time to get intellectual. It's because, as you know, TED Talks are peak intellectualism. Look at this ratio. Look at this. 3.1K upvotes, 11,000 downvotes. That's out of 112,000 views. Now, this is the girl that, well, I guess if you could call her that, this is the girl that runs the Queer Kid Stuff channel. And she's done a talk here, and I guess we're going to listen probably to the entire thing. I listened to it yesterday, so I don't remember the entire thing, but I do remember wanting to throw up because of how retarded it was. So let's check it out. Let's hear what she has to say, and prepare to, this is, I think we'll call this a try not to sunset yourself challenge, because you never know when it's just going to push you too far. All right, let's see.
Let's get this kicked off.
Oh, she's gonna sing.
It's okay to be gay.
All right, no, we're not listening to that. No, fuck that. Okay, there we go. Don't applause this.
Opening a performance with lyrics like "It's okay to be gay" for a room full of adults is one thing, but it's entirely different for a room full of kindergartners.
Okay, does anybody feel that just that instinctual feeling of revolt just yet? Because I'm getting it.
What you just heard is the theme song for my web series, Queer Kid Stuff, where I make LGBTQ+ and social justice videos for all ages. And when I say all ages, I mean literal babies to your great-great-grandma.
Literal babies! This is sick! She admits it.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Whoa, they're talking...
We're thinking pedo alert?
Talking about gay stuff with kids, but...
Getting gay with kids, it's just like South Park said.
Talking to kids about gay stuff is actually crucial. The American Academy...
Yes, it's crucial. Crucial to begin the indoctrination process as early as possible.
...of Pediatrics has found that children have a solid understanding of their gender identity by the age of 4.
Trans kids now. This is absolute cancer of the highest order. Now, if kids have it all figured out, folks, we don't need parenting anymore. Because kids know everything about themselves. Everything they say is truth, and they're certain about everything.
This is when children are developing their sense of self. They're observing the world around them, absorbing that information, and internalizing it. Now, most parents want their children to become kind, empathetic, self-confident adults, and exposure to diversity is an important part of that social and emotional development.
Diversity. Put the diversity into your children. This is just... Come on. Okay, now look. Obviously, teaching children the value of basic respect and boundaries and values is important. That's obviously crucial to, developing a child into a well-adjusted adult. But exposing them to this sort of shit that these people constantly push is entirely another thing. And does anybody else just really get pissed off at listening to this person talk just through their mannerisms alone? And what is going on here?
And gender nonconforming kids, and trans kids,
no.
And kids with trans and non-binary and queer parents are everywhere.
No, they're not everywhere. These people would have you believe that every other person is a queer, is gay, is trans. That's literally not the real world. In their fantasy land, everybody's like this. So many people. And they've existed for thousands of years. That's always the thing you hear. You know what cracks me up about that is that everything we have ever believed as human beings is outdated from the past. But somehow, the existence of supposed trans and queer people for thousands of years validates their identity. Of course. It's not considered archaic when I do it. I can't look at those photos.
In the series, my stuffed bear co-host and I talk about the LGBT community, activism, gender, and
what she's really trying to say is that she talks to herself with a stuffed animal. Now, look, I get it. It's supposed to be a children's show. It's supposed to be cutesy. But it's absurd. It's delusional. The things that this person tries to teach children are confusing.
Pronouns, consent, and body positivity.
Yeah, pronouns, that's important.
We tackle these topics through songs, not unlike the one you just heard, simple definitions, and metaphors. We approach these ideas, to steal a phrase from an old professor of mine, from under the doorknob, getting down to toddler height and looking up at the great big world through their tiny little eyes.
And trying to, force them to open the closet door.
Complex ideas and simplifying them. Not dumbing them down, but homing in on the core concept.
Can't dumb down what's already dumb.
How we feel and how we express ourselves. Sexuality is about love and gender and family.
Oh, yeah, these people really care very deeply about family. That's why they'll stop at nothing to destroy the idea of a traditional family unit.
And these are all ideas children can grasp. In one of my earliest episodes about gender, I used the idea of pronouns to underscore the definition and introduce gender-neutral pronouns like they and them. I encourage children to think about their own pronouns and to ask others for theirs.
No!
In later episodes, I
for the last time, pronouns are not a choice. They are a linguistic tool based on an observation to refer to somebody who most of the time is not even in the room when you're using them.
And introduce big, fancy words like non-binary and transgender. I get emails from viewers in their 20s who use my videos to explain non-binary gender to their grandparents.
Yeah, and their grandparents then probably die of a heart attack because of what they've just seen. There's no such thing as this non-binary bullshit. It's just a way for these people to try to subvert a traditional standard that's not really a choice. Calling yourself non-binary does literally nothing except make you a smug little douchebag that looks like this and dresses like this. Okay, how is this not just an ugly chick? How on what planet is this not just a butch ugly chick? There's nothing different except for the fact that they put on some ugly bow tie and decided to dress as the nerdiest male possible. That's it. It's like the female version of a soy boy.
But I get one comment over and over again. Let kids be kids.
You think?
Well, that's a nice sentiment and all, but only if it actually includes all kids. Just a few weeks ago,
oh, here we go.
A 15-year-old in Huntsville,
time to lay on the
Alabama,
guilt.
died by suicide after being bullied for being gay.
Yeah. Oh.
In 2018,
that's never happened to anybody before.
It was a 7-year-old in Denver, Colorado.
I have not heard of that story, but 7 years old. How do the kids even know? I mean, kids bully each other. That just kind of happens. But specifically for being gay at 7, what are you doing that anybody would even understand or know that?
Been and will be many more. Lesbian, gay, and bisexual teens are more than 3 times more likely to attempt suicide than their heterosexual peers, and transgender teens are almost 6 times more likely.
Now you wonder why that is. And they'll constantly try to tell you that it's entirely society's fault. It's your fault these people are committing suicide. Yours. Why aren't you doing anything to help the transmissions? It's because you're a bigot. That's why, right? It can't have anything to do with the fact that hating yourself on a fundamental basis makes life innumerably harder. No, of course not. It's everybody else's fault. And yet, for all of the pandering, all of the enabling, all of the, the surgeries and the hormones, it seems like nothing is enough. In fact, the last time we did this show and we looked at rates, it used to be something like, 41 or 47%, something like that. The range was then up to 52%. So, if anything, it's getting worse according to them. And with all of this societal acceptance and pandering, it somehow hasn't improved. That seems a little bit off to me, and yet, here we go with laying on the guilt trip of, this is what I like to call the literally dying argument. Because every time a conversation comes up about anything LGBT or trans, it inevitably goes to, people are dying and you don't care. Well, maybe people care, but they just don't agree with the solution that you have. Or maybe people are completely indifferent because it has absolutely nothing to do with their lives and they're not involved with these people.
According to one study, roughly 1/3 of homeless youth identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or questioning, and about 4% of homeless youth identify as transgender, compared with 1% of the general youth population surveyed. According to the Human Rights
I sure
Campaign,
love these surveys.
there have been 128 killings.
Oh, this
of
part.
trans
This part's
people
my favorite.
in 87 cities across 32 states since 2013, and those are only the reported cases.
Oh, I think we just used... we went from, remember the unreported rape argument? Well, now we have the unreported trans murder argument. I don't know. I've never heard anything about it, but apparently it exists. This is good. This part was really... I remember now because this part was my favorite part of the video, because it throws out this number of, 128 trans people have been killed since 2013. Okay, or trans women of color, I think, something like that. Well, first of all, I fucking hate all those terms. But second, notice how they never go into the reasons. They leave it and make it sound as though the reason for it is, well, it's society. It's because people they're transphobic, they hate trans people. But the truth, if you look into those murders, most of them have absolutely nothing to do with the fact that the person is transgender. What happens is that it's usually the lifestyle that person chooses to lead. They're involved with drugs or, just some kind of bad crowd, shady situation that is going to get them killed. And inevitably does. And that was only reported. Shut the fuck up with this line. It's absurd to me. All right, here we go.
And 80% of those killings
Oh, yep.
were of trans women of color.
Oh my God. Like, that somehow makes it worse.
The situation is bleak.
Come on, guys. We're all equal, but as soon as you drop the trans WOC... everybody is supposed to just sit back and gasp in shock. The absolute horror! I can't believe it! In 2019?
To say the least. The YouTube comments on my videos are not much better.
There are no YouTube comments on her videos. This is a fucking lie. If you go... I'm not going to go to the channel right now, but you go to YouTube if you want to prove it. Type in queer kid stuff and click on one of the videos and hate yourself for the rest of your life, and you'll see that there are absolutely no comments. Comments are disabled.
I'm used to the harassment. I get messages daily telling me I'm a pedophile and that I should
Gee, I wonder why.
in a number of increasingly creative ways.
Oh, that reminds me. The pedophile accusation. This idiot, if you look them up by their actual name, they have a channel under their real name. And if you go to that channel, there's a video on there from 4 years ago, and the title is, Are All Kids Queer? Here's somebody that puts out their thoughts on childhood sexuality on the internet, and they're surprised when somebody is calling them a pedo as a result. Oh, you know what? I was talking about this last night with, or was it this morning? Either one. Mockaton with, in the chat there. And I was saying we should get we should get Chris Hansen on this guy. Oh, here I am saying guy. I guess it just felt a little bit natural because of that ugly ass freeze frame. Did you notice in PewDiePie's video saying he won't give money to the ADL, he's wearing a Iron Cross? Yeah, there were some people pointing that out, and somebody came forward with some information about what the message on the shirt said, and it said something like Lord have mercy, or our Lord have mercy upon us, or something like that. So there's like text. I don't know what the language is, but there's like writing on the side by the cross as well, and it's that's what it said, and people are still kind of flipping out about it. Was he trolling? Maybe, I don't know. It's some high level 4D chess shit. But let's finish this out before we really die. We're going to be the ones to literally die.
Put the word truck on my block list because someone wanted me to get run over by a truck.
Imagine doing this.
Shower and oven are in there too for the less creative and more disturbing Holocaust reference.
Oh, so disturbing.
When neo-Nazis marched in Charlottesville.
Oh, here we go. This is good.
I was unsurprised to learn that the creator of a violent Reddit meme about one of my episodes was in the Tiki Torch crowd.
Oh my God! I've linked it to
This
Charlottesville.
creativity is what we're up against. The crushing statistics, the violence, the mental health risks, the well-meaning but flawed response my parents gave me when I came out, that they didn't want me to have a harder life.
You're the one that made it sound harder.
That's what we're up against. But in the face of all that...
No, what you're up against are people with a brain that see through the delusional bullshit and don't want the entire youth of the nation to be screwed up because of your sick, weirdo ideology.
I choose joy.
Oh my God.
This
is so fucking pathetic right here.
Unicorns and glitter, and I sing that it's...
That's just the creepiest shit. It's like... I can't think of it, but there's a movie that's coming to mind where there's like a teacher and she's just so fucking out of her mind, where it's like, oh, what is that? Oh, it's Billy Madison, the fucking teacher in Billy Madison. I think the kindergarten teacher, where she's acting like she's all high all the time and kind of like just, I'm so happy, rainbows, sunshine. This is just disgusting.
It's okay.
And I think what makes it even more twisted is that it's in regards to, gender and sexuality aimed at children. It's time to stop.
To be gay with my childhood stuffed teddy bear.
No.
I make queer media for kids because I wish I had this.
Oh, here we
when
go.
I was their age.
Yeah, but that's
so others don't have to struggle through what
that's
I
projection.
did. Not understanding my identity because I didn't have any exposure to who I could be.
Isn't this great? So here's what is amazing about this to me is right here, they're actually kind of admitting that exposure to who I could be. How in the fuck can you get external exposure for who you're supposed to be? That's a journey that you're supposed to figure out yourself. You don't look to others to figure out who and what you are. So right there, they're sort of admitting to the idea that they kind of want to brainwash people into this sort of thought process. These kids, very impressionable, let them see it early on. It just seems twisted.
I teach and spread this message through joy and positivity instead of framing it around the hardships of queer life.
Yeah, let's completely ignore that.
We'll
We'll only use that to guilt people to believe it.
Pride for who they are and who they can be, no matter who they love or what they wear or what pronouns they use. And I want
no matter who they love. Sounds a little strange to me.
To love others for their differences, not in spite of them. I think fostering...
You know what, guys? I admit it. There's no slippery slope. There's just one big harsh fucking kick off the side of a cliff. That's it. There's no slippery slope. We've gone beyond a slope. It's a straight drop, head first, onto concrete. I think this is the
pride
end
and
of it.
empathy
I don't really want to
will
hear
make
about
the
this shit.
world a kinder and more equal place.
No,
and
it
combat
won't.
the bigotry and hate that festers in our world.
Yes, that's all it is. There's no reasonable idea as to why people might reject these things. No, it's all bigotry, it's all hate. That's the best way to frame it, because that's the way that will garner sympathy. That's the way that will prey on people's sense of empathy and kind of force them to accept something that they may otherwise not accept, because most people do want to do good, but they kind of have a warped understanding of how to do that, and they kind of go based on very simple emotional impulses. So, I mean, if you frame something in a way of, oh, these people are dying and it's because they're being bullied and we have to help them, most people, ordinary people, aren't going to look into it too deeply. They're just going to think, yeah, that sounds like a good cause. Of course we want to save lives. And that's kind of how they slip it in there. Nice and easy. Full of guilt. Yes, those word choices were quite intentional. Which leads us to our last gender-related topic for the evening, I think. No, there's kind of one more. It's like loosely related, but it's not about trans shit. Oh, there is one. I see it right there. The band Berkeley words. I didn't get to see this entire thing. I know they talked about it on Killstream a little bit, but I didn't. I was like falling asleep during that part because I'm old. Let's see. Okay. I've heard about this one where they decided to change the manhole covers. This article starts off with the lines that I love. In an effort to be more inclusive. Thank you for the follows and the lemons, guys, on DLive. I appreciate it. Kind of in rant mode, so not 100% focused. The Berkeley City Council adopted an ordinance Tuesday to replace gendered language in the city's municipal code with neutral terms. I guess this was over the summer, July, this came out. Personal pronouns like she, he, her, and him will change to they and them. Isn't it strange how gender neutral is sort of the go-to? Like, what about the people that really want to embrace the idea that they're a man or a woman? I mean, because we are saying, these people are always saying, how their gender is so important to them. Well, what about the people who, the 99% of people whose gender identity, which, by the way, I don't even like using that term because I feel like it's a made-up concept even if you argue against it, it's kind of created just to get you to start differentiating between the two things. It's like, no, you are who you are. This whole weird gender thing is just a way to make it separate. And then, like, if you look into the origins of the concept of gender itself, it's all fucked up, and I don't know why it's something that we follow. But yeah, the whole pronoun thing is fucking stupid. I mean, here we go. Fireman or firewoman will become firefighter. So yeah, they're making it even in there. But what if you want to be called a fireman? What if you want to be called a firewoman? How come those aren't just as valid? It makes no sense. It's like they're catering to this very, very, very tiny minority of people who claim that they just can't handle hearing gendered language. Manpower will be issued for human effort or workforce, while maintenance hole will replace manhole. Man, somebody needs to remove the tampon from their manholes. In total, more than 24 commonly used terms will be changed in the city code after the measure unanimously passed. Look at this list. What is this? All right. Bondsman, bondsperson, brother, sibling. I mean, people already use sibling and brother and sister interchangeably. Whatever. Chairman, chair, chairperson. Craftsman, craftspeople. Artisans. Again, artisan, that's a word. It's like an older term that I don't hear as much anymore, but it's already a thing. Fireman, firewoman, firemen, firewomen. Firefighter, firefighters. Fraternal, social. Heirs, beneficiaries. Wait, is heirs really gendered? Okay. I mean, maybe I'm missing the origin, like the etymology of the word, I guess, but it just never came off that way to me in context. Journeyman, journey, maiden, family. I don't. What the fuck? How does that make sense? Flamenco, thank you for the host, man. I guess since heirs were traditionally sons. Okay, yeah, that makes. I could see that. I guess it's kind of a feels like a bit of a stretch, but the whole entire concept is a stretch. Male and female, people of different genders. The PODGs, people. Come on now. This can't be real, right? They're joking. They're fucking with us. Man-made, human-made, artificial, manufactured, machine-made, synthetic, manpower. Yeah, okay, so those are the ones we read already. Master, captain, skipper, pilot, safety officer, central. So what title do the slave owners get then? Men and women, people. Men or women. A single gender? How would you even use this in context? It seems like they're going out of their way to warp the English language. Like, think about trying to use the phrase a single gender when you're trying to refer to men or women. It makes sentence structure so ridiculously awkward that I'm having trouble coming up with a fucking sentence that makes it sound right. Because if you're like, a single gender are trash. Like, let's go to the feminist favorite. Men are trash. A single gender are trash. Oh, really? Well, which one are we talking about? It's disturbing. Yeah, look at all this. First of all, I don't even know anybody that uses things like policewoman anyway. Pregnant, you can't say pregnant woman or women. You have to say pregnant employees, because for those 4 people that think they're able to have children even though they're dudes. Repairman, repairs, repairer, salesman, salesperson, salespeople. I guess they willfully ignore, like they always claim that language adapts and changes over time, right? But then in the same breath, they willfully ignore the fact that when you use words like salesman or whatever, that the man part doesn't necessarily mean a male. It's just like mankind. Mankind makes up humanity, both men and women. But they're just so determined to push this shit that they ignore all reality. Look at this. Sorority or fraternity. What the fuck? This is so stupid. Sportsmen, hunters, collegiate Greek system residents? What the hell is that? Okay. I know what they're trying to say, but words referring to a specific gender may be extended to any other gender. Wait, what? The masculine pronoun includes the feminine? Words referring to a specific gender may be extended to any other gender. It's just a rewording. Watchmen, guards. I mean, how do they plan to enforce this stuff? Because what are they going to do first? Kind of try to push it that they have to use this on documents first, and then are they going to eventually try to kind of create, law, like, you must use this language? I don't think that's going to fly in the United States, but with how crazy people are becoming in this crap, and like how entrenched they're becoming in this crazy ideology, I wouldn't be surprised to see people trying. I mean, they're already trying in some regard. The only thing is they don't necessarily have a legal backing. Plan to enforce it by using it as an excuse to fire problem employees. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a good point, because they can get you there. That's kind of like... It's kind of like the favorite phrase of freedom of speech isn't freedom from consequences. It's like you might not be able to be punished by law, but they're going to punish you on a societal level that you're never going to recover from, pal. You're going to be locked out. Ostracized. Game over. Critics have suggested that the council should spend time on other things, you think? But he pointed to the other items he considered important on Tuesday's agenda, which include an ordinance to make Berkeley the first city in the country to prohibit natural gas infrastructure in new buildings. Yeah, I guess they're doing this whole... All right, wait a sec. We got a $2 here. Scratchpoint is a bigot. Don't listen to him. Will you rise up on October... Digital Waffles, $2. Will you rise up on October 4th and watch Joker? I actually didn't have any intention to, and it's not necessarily because, obviously it's nothing to do with the media buzz. It's just I'm not generally interested in any of the content, so I probably won't. But I've seen the way that they're trying to push it as some sort of... man, baby, male, white fragile tears, mental health excuse narrative. It's so fucking retarded. It's just unbelievable. It's like, it's a movie, guys. Why you got to take it so seriously? There's no distinction between fiction and reality anymore. And the reason for that is because, according to them, they don't see fiction as anything other than a method to create propaganda. So they just assume that any media that goes against their narrative or doesn't strictly follow it is propaganda in the opposite direction. That's pretty much what it is. It's just a case of projection. They think that they're trying to indoctrinate people just as much as they're trying to. It's kind of stupid, but they have no self-awareness, so they don't realize it. I guess this is the change in the city. So they're updating the city forms with all of this, and I guess they spent $600 on that. Just imagine. I mean, look, $600 is probably not that much in regards to what a city spends yearly, but just the fact that any money went towards that at all is beyond absurd. It's like, give me that $600. I will do something way better than that. We're gonna solve real problems with real money. So I hadn't read this. I only read bits and pieces of this, and I think it's the last gender-related topic for the evening. Not necessarily the last LGBT bit of madness, but it's a Medium post, as you can see. What to do when your kid comes out as transgender, from a mom who's been there, because there's a rule book, there's a handbook. You got to follow this, okay? I get it. You're stunned because you never saw any signs. Welcome to the club. Or maybe it was the opposite. You saw signs, but you held on to the hope that your kid would grow out of it. That's not how it works. Except if you actually look into it, sometimes, or majority of the time, that is how it works. But, let's ignore that and say that's not how it works, because when you say that's not how it works, obviously that is the absolute fucking truth, and there's nothing you can do to argue against it. Are you the type of parent who says you're an LGBTQ ally, yet constantly challenges your kid to justify what they know to be true about who they are? Or are you blatantly disapproving? I used to be the former. How dare you? How dare you challenge your child when they tell you something ridiculous? And seriously, what parent says they're an LGBTQ ally? Get out of here with this pussy shit. If you're the latter, I would start by reminding you that... Look, we didn't even have to go far. It's the third paragraph, and we're already at the literally dying argument. I would start by reminding you, because we had a second to forget, that roughly 40% of transgender people attempt suicide. The risk increases when there is a lack of family and community support. In my local support group of 400 families with holy fuck, where do you live? I'm curious. Does it say anywhere what the location of this? Let's see if we can learn from the profile. just for a sec. I guess not. Huh. All right, well, that's insane to me. 400 families with trans kids, as though it's just so normal, so natural. When we split into our group of just the parents of those who are transitioning from male to female, which usually seems to be the direction that this goes, it seems like there are fewer women trying to become men than there are the other way around. And it's kind of interesting, isn't it? That with this whole let's trash masculinity and destroy, the idea of it, that with that seems to be all of these would-be men that are deciding to just, hey, I'm going to switch teams. We have a favorite question for those new parent members. This is good. This is nice. Would you rather have a dead son or an alive daughter? Well, at least if it was the former, you'd be able to say that it was a tragedy, and people would feel sympathetic. When my now 22-year-old daughter came out to me at 19, I fell apart. I never saw it coming. This was a kid who had always loved baseball and cars and now had a beard and a girlfriend of 3 years. I didn't understand. Wait, now I know that's incredibly common. Hypermasculinity seems a smart way to hide that you're really a woman when you've been born into a male body, doesn't it? Here we go with the born in the wrong body again. I thought transgender people were supposed to know this about themselves from a very young age. Well, that's what they tell us, right? Because that's what they keep trying to do in order to justify the whole trans kid narrative. They said it so they know. They know who they are. How dare you deny who they are? They always use that phrase, who they really are, as if there's just a mistake. Let's see. Isn't that the way it happens? I never heard of a story like ours, despite thinking I was an avid LGBTQ ally all of my life. Imagine priding yourself on that. I had many friends who fit into the LGB part of the acronym, but I came to realize I was clueless about the T and the Q. Well, let me fill you in. The T is delusional, and the Q is desperate to find a way to feel interesting and oppressed. Not anymore. I have been immersed in quite the education, one I never expected. 7 months later, when my second child came out as transgender at 16, I was more prepared. Yes, that's right. Both of my kids are transgender women. I remember this now. How is this possible? Come on. Like, one of the rarest fucking things you can possibly be born, according to stats and according to all common sense, and both of the kids, turned out to be trans. Are you fucking kidding me? This is peak. Like, what happened? And you know what? It'd be funny. Okay, so they're both transgender women. So I guess what happened was, the woman's womb just made a mistake. That's it. That's what happened. They were supposed to be girls, but they came out as boys, and so they had to remedy that. They really only share two main things: a fierce intellect and being transgender. Why do I feel like maybe a little bit of autism comes into play here? They have very different interests, personalities, temperaments, beliefs, relationships with others, and experiences with being transgender. I would say that they're close, but that's mostly because of the intellect factor. Very few... This is great. This is good. Very few people can match either of them in a debate or discussion about any key issue of relevance in the world today. My kid, my transgender geniuses, get the fuck out of here, lady. Debate my trannies, bro. Ugh. But you see, this is true of all the transgender people I've met. They are crazy smart. All of them. Really? Because if Twitter is any indication, I'm not seeing the whole intellect thing. They got the crazy part right, but not the smart part. Guns down in hail for $2. She was drinking a lot when she was pregnant. Well, I guess that could be true. Moccasin, my trans kid is smarter than your honor student. There's a bumper sticker for the alphabet soup community right there. There's something about the transgender brain that's different. I'm not a scientist, no shit, but I've seen it too many times not to believe there's something there. Yeah, like I said, there's if you look it up, I think there's some sort of article or research into the fact that like most of, or a decent amount of the people that identify as transgender also have some form of autism. It may have to do with living in a different reality, one without the binaries and rigid categories and limited understanding of the rich and glorious complexity of humanity that most of us accept without question. See how they try to make it sound like it's, you know, it's so subversive and so empowering and amazing because they're not confined by the limits of our reality. Well, guess what? We're all confined by the limits of reality. There are certain things that, no matter how much we don't like them, we cannot choose. I mean, it's living in a different reality. Yeah, that is quite the line. You saw the Dave Chappelle special. Yeah, I saw it. I liked and disliked it. There were, you know, it was good, decent at some parts and kind of cringeworthy at others. Perhaps that's why some cultures revere transgender people as wise shamans. They always pull up like these really weird claims about old, you know, other cultures, but I never see anything to back it up. Like, what society are we talking about here? What culture are we talking about? Because I bet you if you look into it a little bit deeper, there's something else there. It's not just like, oh, the transgender shaman knows all. I have a unique perspective as a mother who has experienced not one, but two of her children coming out as transgender. Yeah, and you blindly believed that instead of thinking, hey, these people, my children need some help. No, let's just pump them full of hormones and try to reverse a very important aspect of their birth that really, when you think about it, can't be reversed. It's literally impossible to change. You can make yourself have the appearance, or, you know, very, very sad appearance there. I don't know. Could there be a genetic component? I don't know. What I do know is that my life took a sharp turn just over 2 years ago when we started this journey. And so now, because of her children, you know, being so deeply involved in this, of course, this lady is going to posture so fucking hard about these people and try to protect them because, you know, you're a mother, you're emotionally invested in your children. That doesn't make what you're saying right. I mean, you have parents of children that grow up to be murderers who blindly support their child because, you know, they love their child. Society fucking hates them because of what they did, but the parents still support their child because it's, you know, their blood. I'm about to retire from 28 years of teaching communications study courses as a university lecturer. I'm also gearing up to put more energy into growing my training and coaching business. Oh boy, which I've had for over 25 years. And I can't help but wonder if all my years of teaching communication skills in classrooms and corporate training rooms was actually preparing me for something I never could have imagined. Yes, it was your destiny. When my first daughter came out, I did and said all the things that I now counsel parents not to do when their kids come out as transgender. I've since apologized profusely and done all I can to repair the damage. I hope you don't have to do that. Yeah, because, again, like, how dare you think, you know, maybe this isn't the right lifestyle choice for you? Thankfully, my daughter is a forgiving, loving, incredible person. The second time around, with my younger daughter, I got a do-over. I knew what to do and didn't put up the futile roadblocks that I now realize could have killed my child. For those of you feeling lost, confused, and likely upset, here are 3 things I recommend not to say. I'll also explain my reasoning and share my advice. But you can't be transgender. We would have had signs earlier. You're already a teen or adult. While I appreciate the acceptance and understanding that many documentaries about transgender children and the TV show I Am Jazz create, they can also perpetuate a myth. Oh yeah, you know, that TV show where when the kid wanted the bottom surgery, they didn't have enough tissue because they started hormones too early. Yeah, that. We can really use that. as a great example. This myth is that most transgender kids realize that they are trapped in the wrong body at an early age. Oh, she's calling this a myth. I think she's speaking out of turn here, so that's going to be a yikes from the alphabet community. The vast majority of people in our support group, people that I've now counseled about their kids coming out, and stories I've read online and in books, involve mostly teens or young adults coming out as transgender. Now, you wonder why that is. Being a teenager is pretty awkward. You know, there's a lot of hormones flowing through your system, a lot of confused feelings and new feelings that you don't quite know how to handle. And it seems like the more that they put this idea of transgenderism out there as like just another way to be, just another state of being, that the more these teenagers take those very normal teenage feelings and decide, oh, I'm revolted by my own body going through puberty, therefore that must mean I'm supposed to be the opposite gender. It's sick. That's not true. Gender dysphoria can surface at any time, but it's most likely to happen at puberty when developing secondary sex characteristics. See, feels very, very wrong to the transgender teen. Many transgender teens grapple with these feelings alone for years. Now, this is stupid because, I mean, again, development is a difficult time for anybody, and you go through a lot of changes. You have a lot of questions about yourself, obviously, but that doesn't mean that you're born the wrong gender. And part of like feeling wrong about, you know, developing these characteristics is that you've spent the first 13 years of your life a certain way, and then you suddenly decide to change. That's a hard change to accept. The lack of acceptance in society and feared lack of acceptance in one's family lead many transgender people to lives of isolation and to keep their secret for years, which must be incredibly painful. Also, as I described above, a common coping mechanism and way to feel safe is to act out the behaviors and perform the appearance of one's assumed gender. So basically what she's saying is that her son, who was into cars and baseball and girls, was just kind of projecting what they thought a male should be, in spite of believing that he's a girl. Which I kind of feel more like these trans people do that in the opposite direction. So you'll see a guy who thinks he's a woman, and they'll put on the most, stereotypical performance of what they think a woman should be. And it comes off as very, very fake, very plastic. Take Blair White, for example, and people that, there's like one blonde weirdo that Blair hung out with that looks basically like a Barbie doll. It's weird and kind of disturbing because they've just got so much surgery that they don't even look like a person anymore. Let's see. That's the same thing. Advice: when your child comes out to you, please try to put yourself in their shoes. Please respond with love and acceptance. No, this is bullshit advice. Please hug your child and say nothing except any combination of the following: I love you, I'm here for you, it's going to be okay, I'll help in any way I can. I'll help in any way I can. Break out the HRT. We'll support you with anything you need. Thank you for trusting me enough to share this. I mean, I get it. You're not supposed to go on the attack, but to just blindly accept that, why? Why should you? That's absurd to me. Couldn't this just be a phase? I've learned from therapists who, oh boy, here we go. Therapists who have been trained to affirm these people at every turn, of course, who work with transgender youth and adults, that there's typically a long coming in period before transgender people come out to anyone else. When a person comes out to a loved one, whether it's to a parent or a spouse of 30 years, a lot of thought has typically gone into it. It's incredibly difficult, incredibly stressful. Yeah, you see that that spouse one sometimes, and I find that to be one of the most disturbing and selfish things that a person can do. Because if you just by what this person had said here, like, oh yeah, they knew for a really long time internally, but they could never come out because it was just so hard. And then when they get comfortable, they come out. That to me is, it's like when those people go and they have a bunch of kids and then they suddenly decide, oh yeah, I'm gay. Bye guys. It's the same concept. Oh, I'm trans. Now you have to accept me as the opposite, even though you married me as one thing. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna change up my body chemistry, maybe change my parts with some surgery, and you married me, so you gotta accept that. And the weird thing is that I've seen, because it's been highlighted, I don't know if these things last long term, but they try to push this narrative of like, oh, there's this couple and they're accepting it. This wife has decided to stand by her husband who now wants to become her wife. And it's just it's the saddest thing. Like, they showed a photo and you could just see on this woman's face, no matter how much she was trying to hide it with a smile, you could just see the absolute disappointment and heartbreak that must be going on internally. And it's really fucking sad. Because for some reason, and I guess I know the reason, it's because the literally dying argument, it's like these people's feelings are supposed to be put on a pedestal above anybody else's. So it doesn't matter how you feel. You'll constantly see, this isn't about you, it's about them. You'll see things like that. You have to love and accept. But no matter how you feel about it, it doesn't matter. Because they can just pull out, well, you wouldn't want them to kill themselves, no, would you? Really? I don't know. I just think it's kind of fucked up, because apparently this identity is one of the most selfish things on the planet, because everything is about them. And you're not allowed to talk about your feelings. Your feelings don't matter, even if you are involved in a relationship with them. This is getting pretty long, but let's see what else we got here. They may be years of reading online, possibly connecting with online groups, maybe even telling a few... Yeah, I think this is one of the worst things that kids do, is get involved with, forums or these websites like Tumblr. It's like a cult. They really try to get people... They try to get these kids involved, and it's almost like they convert them. And they don't want to admit that thing happens, but it's very clear. I mean, if you go on fucking Twitter even, and you look at all these bios, look at all these idiots with these super hot takes, and think of how many times you've seen, trans this, non-binary that, they, them. It seems like people just kind of jumping on this bandwagon. There's no way that there are that many people this is happening to naturally. It's being portrayed as cool, it's being portrayed as subversive, it's being portrayed as non-traditional, and people kind of like to... There's something inside of us that kind of likes to, rally against the so-called system, down with authority and all that, and kids kind of like that feeling, and they go with it. What else? When a transgender person comes out to his, her, their parents, look at how awkward this makes writing. You forgot Z, Zer, and all that other shit. There has usually been a long and torturous journey to get to the point of being able to speak the truth. But that's the thing. It's not the truth, and nobody is telling them that. They're just saying, oh, this is your truth. Your truth. Because it's nobody else's. Everybody else knows. I asked my older daughter if it could be a phase. I gave her my laundry list of reasons she had to be male. Yeah, that whole birth thing. Whew. Now I just ask myself what on earth I thought that would accomplish. It's not helpful in any way. Why couldn't I just allow myself to admit that I had been wrong? Why couldn't I just listen to what my daughter was telling me with an open heart and open mind? Because it's absolute nonsense. That's why. If only I could see 2 years down the road the way it is now, how proud I am of my daughter and how I totally see her as a woman, but I couldn't. You may not be able to yet either, but please learn from my mistakes and be open to the possibilities. I don't know. This just seems like a lot of bullshit to me. I really don't understand any of this. But they frame it in such a way that they want you to feel bad. And so that's just kind of the guilt tactic that they use. You don't want these people to hurt themselves. But really, that's not right. I mean, how long can this narrative possibly go on? And I don't think it can go on forever, because you have to eventually come to the understanding that all of these things that you've done to support these people, and still these mental health issues are so prevalent, should be proof that whatever it is you're trying isn't working. I'm going to go down here and see what else we got. I just kind of want to see what note they ended on, because this is pretty stupid. I could be commenting on this all day. Oh yeah, here's another important reminder. Gender identity and gender expression are two different things. Nah, this is stupid. This is just nonsense. This is like ways to divvy up, the identity, and further confuse people. Because remember, and this is a big conflict within these narratives, and that's why they had to go and break it down. Because they're always talking about how things and behaviors aren't gendered, right? But then they go and use interests or behaviors as reasons for why they're trans. And that, to me, it's just you don't see the conflict there. Of course not. Of course we don't. All right. My advice, we'll end this. Provide nothing but support, encouragement, and an ear to listen to whatever your child is feeling and planning to do or not do. So whatever, keyword, you got to support them no matter what. So if your child says they're going to sunset themselves, I guess you got to support that. Provide resources in the form of doctors, therapists, support groups, which I don't even know how I feel about the therapist thing anymore, because it seems like every time you read about a therapist's perspective on it, it's just a bunch of enabling. If your kid wasn't convinced, they will be after therapy. Educate yourself. Expose yourself to transgender communities to be an active ally and to see that there are so many ways of being transgender. There really aren't. There was only supposed to be one way, and that way was to have this so-called gender dysphoria illness, and that was that. But now it's it doesn't matter. You can feel however you want and identify in it any way that you want, and somehow that's reality. You were lucky enough to have a brain and body gender match. Still, you got to choose how you would express that gender through your clothing, communication, style, adornments, hobbies, and much more. Yeah, those people can choose all those things too. The only difference is that they use those things to justify what they believe they are, rather than it just being an interest. Your child didn't have that luxury. Yeah, it's a real luxury. Free will. So they must be given as much time and space as necessary to figure out what just be yourself means. It may take a lifetime. I would hope that you would love your child through it with everything you've got and remove your own biases from the situation as much as possible. Yeah, kind of like how this person removed their bias when they claimed that they were a lifetime LGBT ally. Right? No bias is there. Of course that had nothing to do with the fact that I just randomly accepted that my sons wanted to be daughters. What an absolute sick joke. There's 8 responses. Let's see if there's anybody talking out about this, speaking out against this. My kind of mom, your kids are lucky. Oh boy. Thanks for writing. The TERFs and gender critical ought to read this and more like it. No, they shouldn't. What a lovely piece. Yeah, looks like nothing but blind praise, but I guess that's probably just the Medium, the type of people that write on Medium. Yeah, and then there's some dude with his Google Drive scam. I don't know. I don't know what he posted there. I'm not going to click on it. This is Medium. Nobody's going to criticize it. Yeah. It was worth a shot. All right. So, today in the first worldiest of first world problems, girl called fat by nasty Tinder date has made 800 pounds after setting up crowdfunder. A woman who spent over 90... Is is that pounds or euros? Which one? I don't even know. On a Tinder date, only to be insulted when she got there. Has been showered with nice messages, date offers, and money. Jade savage, but not savage enough. Was subjected to what would probably go down as one of the worst dates in history when the man she met up with called her fat and then drove her back to the station to go home. Now, this is kind of a manipulation. Yeah, I guess I don't really pay attention to the symbols, but kind of a manipulation of the words. I'm not saying that first of all, we're going to pretend this happened because I don't feel like it did, but we're just going to pretend for the sake of this article that this actually took place. After the date, keeping her chin up, she and a friend jokingly set up a good GoFundMe page, trying to get the, I guess what amounts to $115 cost back from the date, which took her 3.5 hours to get to, saying she would spend it on wine and sticks of lard, I guess to get, fatter. Now look at this. Now look, why was she so offended? Why? Let's read on. The page has so far made £800 with many of the donations coming from well-wishing men who probably want to apologize on behalf of the unnamed 27-year-old salesman in question. Yeah, he's unnamed, right? Jade, who had already been on a few dates with the bloke in question, said she stepped out of the train station to be told she has put some weight on. Now, those were the exact words. He didn't say, hey, bitch, you're fat. He said, oh, you put some weight on. Now, obviously not the best thing to say, but he didn't say fat. I don't really understand why, if you had any kind of confidence in yourself, you would just, believe that. This is not okay. They tried to carry on with the date, but unsurprisingly, the conversation came up again, leading him to drive her back to the station. Anyway, it looks like Jade will be able to treat herself to a whole lot more wine. Yeah, because, putting on the empty calories is totally a good idea if you're insecure about becoming fat. And maybe even a nice little holiday to help her recover from... Help her recover. Okay. The bar for what constitutes victimhood these days is an absolute joke. Is she a survivor from this date? Is that what we're going to call her? She's now a survivor, I think. I think that's the truth, right? In Jade's words, is this prick? Pussy? I don't even... Wait, R-I-C-K. Yeah, it's probably prick. She's also had offers of dates as well as lots of well-deserved compliments. Yeah, that's dudes trying to capitalize on your insecurity. They're like, oh, I'll make her feel good about herself. Curtis donated saying... Wait, what? Bollocks to men like that, maybe? I don't know. I don't know why the fuck they censored it. But I'm trying to keep in mind it's like UK. I'd come to Leeds and take you out, then have you take the train. Have a bottle of wine on me. Another said, I thought you could do with another wine. What an asshole. You're so pretty and hope the next date goes amazingly well. Robert Cable said, she looks beautiful. The man she met is an arrogant fool. Here, here. See what I mean? Like, come on. This person doesn't look really fat or anything. This is so stupid. But the single biggest donation of a whopping, what amounts to $246, came from Tristan Pinheiro, who has the same name as the communications manager at dating site Badoo, who cleverly realized this was a great opportunity for someone to step on Tinder's toes. He said, hi, Jade. Here's something towards your next, hopefully much better date. We think you'd be more successful on Badoo.com, so please contact us and we'll get you set up. Life must be so hard when you can receive reparations for being insulted by some dude. Does anybody... I mean, why can't people just take care of these situations themselves in their own private life? How about you just tell this dude, if you're really offended, why don't you stand up for yourself? Why don't you say, hey, fuck off, or anything other than, oh, guess what, guys? We're starting a joke GoFundMe. Yeah, totally a joke, guys. We're really going to take the money, but we're still joking. It's ironic. See? Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Come on. This is just sad. and pathetic. I don't understand why something like this is news, but I think, when I first saw this headline, I was actually expecting somebody obese. I was expecting a real land whale. And then it just turns out to be somebody that's basically average. Maybe a little bit over, but nothing that you would be like, oh, I'm going to cry really hard now because I was called fat, and it's true. It's fucking pathetic. And what's even more pathetic is the behavior of these guys that will just blindly throw money at somebody, at some girl because she said she got insulted. What's wrong with you people? Don't you have any self-respect of your own? Like, this is what you have to do. You have to donate to some random girl and hope that gets you a date. Because guess what? It's not going to work. They don't care. I mean, they'll take your money and they'll laugh about it with their friends, but there's nothing in it for you. Oh, what, you get to feel good that you apologized on behalf of your gender? Oh, wow, you're the bigger man in the situation, clearly. What else do we got? This we can move on from this. Oh, I guess I should have saved that one for last because this one sort of goes back to a little bit before what we were talking about before. But Pennywise is surprisingly anti-queer in Chapter 2. Now they're talking about the movie It, based on the Stephen King novel, and apparently somebody out there was shocked to learn that a crazy, ancient, evil entity that feeds on human beings just decides to kill indiscriminately. I mean, wow, that's crazy. Who would have guessed that this loving creature wouldn't be the icon that you're looking for? The killer clown isn't the ally we thought he was. In the aftermath of 2017's It, Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise the Dancing Clown became something of a gay icon. I guess I missed this, but apparently this happened. Between memes and makeup tutorials, Pennywise was everywhere. He and another monstrous LGBTQ plus favorite, the Babadook, were seen as hashtag couple goals. Okay. But after seeing It Chapter 2, I'm sad to announce that Pennywise is not gay or even an ally. In fact, Pennywise is surprisingly anti-queer. Now wait a minute here. How in the world would you even get the perception? Like, just because people did some makeup tutorials and made some memes, that somehow makes this fictional character, who's not even a human, by the way, makes them gay? I don't get it. As has been previously reported, the film opens with a scene straight from Stephen King's original novel, in which a gay couple are attacked by a group of homophobes who beat Dolan's character Adrian and throw him over the side of a bridge. His boyfriend Don follows him down to the river below, just in time to watch Pennywise literally eat his heart out. Literally, he ate that queer heart. This attack, inspired by the real-life murder of Charlie Howard, could be written off as simply Pennywise taking an opportunity to feed, which pretty much is what it is. Although it's implied more so in King's novel than the film, that the entity It, the name of the Losers Club, gives to the monster otherwise known as Pennywise, controls the town of Derry and may have telepathically inspired the homophobes to attack the couple. Okay, but that's just a method of getting the victim so that you can eat him. Like that, of course, if there's telepathic control and the dude knows this stuff, or whatever it is, I guess. Why would you want to kill her ally? Right. It's like it's a literal demon, and this is what you're propping up as the ally for your identity. Well, I guess in a way that doesn't surprise me. I mean, just think of the whole drag story time thing. But what really cements Pennywise's bigotry is his treatment of Richie, who is revealed to be closeted and in love with his childhood friend, Eddie. When Richie sets off to Derry's arcade to procure a token needed for the ritual to defeat It once and for all, which turns out to be a literal arcade token, he reminisces about being called a fag as a child. by bully turned sociopath Henry Bowers. Then he's attacked by giant Paul Bunyan statue and eventually Pennywise himself. The killer clown isn't content just to threaten Richie with violence. Instead, he reveals that he knows Richie's... Now, wait a minute. Okay, I only saw... Now I admit, I only saw the old movie for it. I never read the book. I know some bits and pieces about the book because I've, read about it throughout the years, but I have not read the book. But from what I gathered just from the old movie was that he preys on your fears. Every individual person, he preys on their fears and projects them into reality to scare the ever-loving shit out of the people that he's hunting. So it makes absolute sense that a gay character who is hiding his identity would be targeted in that way. It's not homophobic. That's using the character's fear, manipulating the fear against them, which is what he does to all people. It's okay to, that he kills a 6-year-old kid, but it's not okay when some gay kid gets attacked or whatever. Like, get out of here. This is just so stupid. He doesn't just say it, he sings it. The song even appears on the album's soundtrack. That's fucking hilarious. So Pennywise isn't just the physical manifestation of what is revealed to be some kind of cosmic entity that feeds off fear in human flesh. He's a homophobe. Trump's America strikes again. That part makes it sound like the article is a parody, but then again, we're on a website called out.com. Like, is this real or is this a joke? If it's a joke, I mean, that's pretty funny, but I can't... Maybe it's fake. Because that fucking ending made it sound like it's a parody. Have we been parodied? No, they got a Pride section. What the fuck is this? They got a Pride website. I don't know. I guess they're trying to sound like what they believe parodying of them would sound like. Yeah, that's kind of fucked up. I don't even know what you say about that. Absolute nonsense. I was just trying to see if I could figure out, from any other articles if it was parody, but I guess it's real. That's sad. I don't even know what to make of that. Did I have anything else planned? Gargoyles, they were talking about a remake of Gargoyles that I saw earlier, the cartoon from the 90s. And I guess apparently Jordan Peele at some point pitched an idea for it. And after seeing what he did to the Twilight Zone, I hope he's kept away from that for all eternity. I don't think I had anything else I wanted to cover, but let me just scroll a little. So yeah, there's a little bit of info that came out about the Fire Emblem 3 houses and the localization. So I guess what wants to happen is people came across this awkward part of dialogue and then tried to figure out what was being said in the original Japanese version, and it came out that localizers got a little bit happy again with their narrative, with their cleansing of Japanese media. So it says here that the two options you have, Professor, what are you doing? Here's the dialogue. Then your choices are, I heard something or I was restless. That's it. So the text says, people are asking about Byleth's sex joke. For context, this is Byleth and Edelgard's C support cutscene, where the former wanders into the latter's room after hearing some noise at night. You'll notice both dialogue options are essentially the same in English. In the Japanese version, Byleth's second option is night crawling. Night crawling, yobai, is the antiquated practice of silently entering someone's room at night and offering sex. That's right, Byleth jokingly propositions Edelgard in her bedroom at night, alone together. Even if you choose the second option in the English version, Edelgard's reaction is still to pull back and blush. So basically it just kind of removes key context here, and it makes it look awkward. It's like, why, if somebody says I was restless, why in the world would you just Why would you pull away and blush from that line of dialogue alone? It just doesn't make any sense. You know, and that's the thing that bothers me about these localizations. They'll just go and change things up because, you know, it's problematic or whatever. And they ruin the scenes because when they don't even come up with a good a good substitute. Now, personally, I wouldn't want to accept a substitute, but putting a substitute there that makes sense would actually imply that they put some effort into it. But I guess that's too much to ask. Can't have that. Why on earth would you ever do anything that makes sense? I don't know. It's stupid. Well, yeah, I mean, the blushing could just be the personality, right? But then when you learn what the actual context is, it's just like, okay, that makes more sense to have that kind of reaction than it does if it's just like, oh, I'm just shy, tee-hee. Get the fuck. Oh, video games. Why? Again, it's like another one of those cases of who is this actually for? Who are you protecting? But it's strange, and it's funny because apparently it's the same regardless of if you choose male or female. I remember reading that. And so if the problem was like they didn't want the male character version to seem rapey or whatever, they didn't even put forth the effort to make the options different between genders. It's just kind of stupid. But I think that's going to be an episode, guys. It's been entertaining. I appreciate all of the follows and the donations over on DLive, the few super chats. Thank you guys a lot for all the follows. Thank you for both Flamenco and Ralph for the hosts on DLive. I appreciate that a lot. And yeah, if you guys are following me either here, YouTube, or Twitter, you will be able to catch me when I go live next time. I'll try not to make it too long, but probably what's gonna be next is game streams for a little bit until I gather enough material for another episode. So if we played Mother 3 last time, I do want to continue that at some point. I've also got Astral Chain coming next week, which I haven't decided yet, but I may try to stream that. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, take care and see you next time.